Hoping that you are very clear with the basic definition of ratio and its concepts. Now let's move on to the next idea, proportions. And for this explanation, let's take a couple of ratios, 4:5 and also 40:50. Now if we observe these two ratios, it is very clear that when we multiply 10 with 4, we'll be getting 40. Similarly, when we multiply the same 10 with 5, we'll be getting 50, right? Now from this point, we can clearly see that these two ratios are equivalent, okay? And hence they are called as equivalent ratios. And why are they equivalent? If we take the second ratio 40:50 and if we try to reduce them as much as possible, we'll end up with 4:5, which means that is our first ratio, right? Now from this point, we can clearly see that these two ratios are equivalent, and from this idea we can define that when two ratios are equivalent to each other, they are said to be in proportion. That's all. So basically, what can we say about proportion? It's an equation in which two ratios are equivalent to each other. That's it. In order to understand more about proportions, let's take a couple of ratios, A:B and C:D. If we assume that these two ratios are equal, we can say that they are in proportion with each other, right? Now, the outer terms are called as extreme terms, okay, and the inside terms are called as mean terms. And according to the logic of proportions, the product of the extremes, which is basically A multiplied by B, is equivalent to the product of the means, which is B multiplied by C. This is one of the important concepts in proportions. And how do we get this result? Very simple. If we try rewriting these two ratios in the form of fraction, we'll be getting A upon B is equivalent to C upon D. Now if we try cross multiplying, we'll be ending up with the same result as AD is equivalent to BC. And moreover, the proportions can also be written in one more form of notation. A:B is the same as C:D. So if we look into most of the questions, this 4-dot format will be used. In order to understand how this trick works, let's take a couple of ratios. 4:x is equivalent to 16:64. Okay. And I'm just going to assume that they are in proportion with each other. So instead of this symbol, we can just use 4:x is the same as 16:64. And what do we know about this? The product of the extremes is equivalent to the product of the mean, right? So we can write it as 4 multiplied by 64 is equivalent to x multiplied by 16. And now let's try simplifying. 1/16 are 16, 4/16 are 64. So what is the value of x? X is equivalent to 16.